me say a pleasant good evening. Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Wa alaikum salam and good evening to all your guests.
Thank you so much. We have activist and businessman and television host Inshan Ishmael online. Thank you so much for linking with us this evening. Inshan, you've been given until tomorrow to demolish that guard boot. And I want people to understand something here. This is not about Inshan Ishmael, the individual, but there's a history here. And if you can share with us, because some people are taken away of the fact that this is some vigilante move or somebody who simply is going against the grain of the law and wants attention. But give us an idea. And I think the real focus here is why. Why are citizens in many communities are looking at basically duplicating what you are standing up for in the bamboo?
Well, first off, I should advise you that bamboo here, the businessmen and the residents, we have done everything for this village ourselves. We have fixed the drains. We have, when we got flood in December, residents were the one for 4 days who did everything. The state stood up 3-4 days after. We were the ones that delivered hampers. In fact, 75% of those who were supposed to receive grants in bamboo number 2 have not received those grants as yet. So history will show that bamboo number 2 is an area the state does not really take care of. And when it comes to the corporation does little or nothing. Just before Diwali, the area where they normally celebrate Diwali, there was 2.5 feet of grass. You could lose your children and your animals in there. So I would say about 9 to 10 months ago, the village spent $22,000 and we went around the village fixing the road because it was so bad. So that is just an idea of what we have been doing. Now, many people are aware that in the last few months, we have had 3 extortion attempts. The Imam family was held captive. Money was taken, they were tied up. In some cases, members of his family were abused. We had down by the shop in bamboo number 2, when I say abused, I mean physically lashed. What happened is that when you look at the shop in bamboo number 2, they were also robbed. When you look at individuals in bamboo number 2, 2 or 3 areas were also touched as well. Out of all those areas where criminals came, not one was held, not one single person. Now, I just want to give you a piece of information you may not be aware of. When the police, right, came to bamboo number 2 when the Imam was robbed, a few hours after we got video and we released that video, I went to the beach that day and I was contacted around 11 a.m. and I was told by the neighbor of one of the persons who did the robbery that the person living next door, and apparently they are starting to pack up stuff. That's at 11 a.m. I contacted the CID in St. Joseph, and I contacted senior officers, and I sent the location, and I told them to proceed. At 3 p.m., I called back and I asked, what is the situation? If they went there, they said no. Not as yet, they're going up there now. The woman who called me with the information asked me how come no police has shown up as yet. I called back again at 4, no police showed up. Police showed up by the people's door 7:30 when the people had already left, when the criminals had already left. Who are we to have faith in? Who are we to depend on when the state has failed us? Bamboo number 2 does not even have a lease. We have been waiting for leases for the past 50 years, and everybody knows, this is public knowledge, there's not one single building in bamboo that is legal. Everybody knows that. Every single building in bamboo is illegal because of the fact that the state is the one who kept back our leases. The state is the one who is punishing this village. So what are we to do? If you look all over Trinidad, you would see people doing as they please, drive into Port of Spain, and you will see houses going up left, right, and center on state property. What is being done? Man taking jumper cable and thieving electricity. What is being done? In Bamboo number 2, yeah, and by the way, there are certain things we don't allow. For example, one businessman decided that he would build his warehouse on the riverbank. We contacted the Ministry of Works 4 years ago. The Ministry of Works didn't send no police. They didn't send no security. The corporation never came. How about the next businessman that blocked one of the main drains in Bamboo number 2 and caused flooding in Valsine? The ministry didn't send police. The corporation didn't send anybody. And you know what the corporation did, Mikee K? The corporation, and that is public knowledge, I have put it on Facebook as well. The corporation spent $200,000 to build a brand new box drain on the said businessman's property. That is the same businessman who has places rented by Grand Bazaar with the food court, and the food court is on the road and nobody touches certain people. So it's a fact that when you look at certain things being done, right? When I do something, they're afraid. And I will tell you something as well. When I was arrested after the 4th time, a senior officer came up to me, and you know what he said, Inshan?
What's that?
He said, you remember 2007? I said, well, yeah, what about 2007? He said, you were the only individual that shut down 95% of this country. And I want all your listeners, and I want all your viewers to go back into the annals of history, and you will see that I led just about 10 people on an anti-crime agenda where we decided to come together, and we shut down 95% of this country in 2007. And since that, the police have me marked down. The police have me labeled as one of the most influential persons in this country. I could get people to move. I could get people to react. So they are afraid of me. That is why I was arrested 7 times. So all over the country, they build guard boot. Do you know that the Ministry of Works and the police, Mikee K?
Yeah.
You knew that?
Yeah, I knew there was some personnel there, police personnel, yeah.
Well, apparently everybody else didn't know that, because when the contractor was thieving material in Piaco and I sent drone shots to the minister, 4 years now, and the police nowhere wrong. Nowhere wrong. When we pay contractors to put 4 inches of pitch and they put in 2 inches of pitch, the police, the Ministry of Police don't be wrong. When contractors who work with the Ministry of Work, the engineers, when they're collecting their bribes, I ain't call no name, but when the engineers collecting their Dutch on the side, the police don't wear wrong. When Vemcott was caught with millions of dollars with fraud recently, from the directors go straight down. Where was the Ministry of Works police? But to build a guard boot to safeguard villagers, are you coming for me?
It becomes an issue, but let me ask you, and I started off by saying that one would think that, why, look into the fact that why residents would come together, not looking at the history of so many demands, because it's quite clear, I know for a fact that you and many of the residents have always worked with the TTPS. You've always invited them there. They've always had some meetings, community meetings. I mean, the murder toll as it stands now is 503. And one would think that with all reality that is taking place, this guard boot should not be, of course, made #1 priority when so much is taking place in this country. We had a commissioner of police called Jacobs who made it quite clear that never before has he ever interacted with the sort of criminals that we are dealing with today. He said it's a different breed, a different mindset. And yet still there are those who are simply saying, be a sitting duck, be vulnerable, and just be a soft target. Is Bamboo #2 basically going to back down and say, listen, if that be the case, we will demolish the booth?
Well, I'll tell you something. We bought materials today, and this is not Inshan Ishmael building the guard booth, so I don't know why the letters are addressed to me. This is a project being done by the villagers and the businessmen of Bamboo #2. So this is a united effort and a united front. And the villagers agreed, because we did a poll on our chat, our village chat recently, and I asked the question, should we hold off from building the guard boot? And 100% of the villagers said, no, our priority is #1. The police is not securing us. The Ministry of National Security has failed. And let me tell you something you may not know. On, when was it? I think it was Friday or Saturday. Friday or Saturday at 3 a.m. in Bamboo #1, which is right next door to us.
Yeah.
8 men entered a business place, Ryan's Liquor Mart, in Bamboo number 1 held the father who was rubbing his knee at that time at 3 a.m. because he has arthritis, grabbed him, right, put a gun to his head, then went in the room where the daughter was, grabbed her, and what happens is that tell her to knock on the door of her brother next door. And when she knocked on the door, she say, you know, Ryan, dad not feeling well, come now. And when Ryan opened the door, boom, 8 men decided to jump in and do what they had to do and pull guns to his head and cutlass on him. And there was this little 1-year-old baby. And they told him if that child make noise, they will shoot the child in her head. Imagine that.
Wow.
This went on for 2 hours. Their black BMW was stolen, not a sight of that vehicle. That vehicle is being protected by someone who live in a community where they are also criminals. Because if you know that your neighbor do own a BMW and all of a sudden one show up, you are protecting criminals. So the fact is that this took place just the other day. And you know what Bamboo number 1 said now? That they are going to put things in place to put up a guard boot as well. So the fact is that who is paying for this? We have to pay $30,000 a month for security, which the state does not provide. I would have loved to do that in hampers and send it out to people who I need or pay for surgery for someone. But instead, we have to pay to safeguard ourselves.
Let me ask you this, Inshan. Just give us a consensus as far as the community. Have you lost confidence and trust in the TTPS?
Well, I lost that a long time ago. After they booted out Gary, I lost complete trust in the Trinidad Police Service. The fact is that at the end of the day, and I'm not calling no names, but one of the senior men, and I'll send this to you, Mikey, I'll send the document to you in the morning. One of the senior men involved in my arrest, he is in the area not too far away from here, and he's under investigation by the Police Complaints Authority. Imagine that. And Mikey, when I send you that document, your eye open up big. And 2 years now, that document's supposed to go by the DPP. So the fact is that when you look at what is taking place, we are more than sitting ducks. What am I going to wait for? To hear a call from a white boy, they take your son, they take my son, they take my daughter. I am not waiting for that. The state responsibility is to take care of its citizens. And if the state has failed in its responsibility, then the onus is on the citizens to protect themselves. And let me tell you something, the state taking care of us, that is enshrined in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. My attorney, Richard Jagisa, when I asked him, I said, Mr. Jagisa, should we continue to build this guard boot? He said, because of the failure of the state to do what they should do, you have a right to protect yourself. And he said the day they come to take down one block, he will be taking this to court.
All right. Yeah, I want to thank you so much for linking with us here this evening, and best of luck to you and your entire team. It's about securing your community and your family. And I guess we've reached to that point in our society where some people, and most of us, will have to start taking matters into our own hands.
Mikee K, we don't have a choice, The only problem is that government supporters have a problem with what they're doing because a lot of their family and friends will now become unemployed.
True. Thanks a lot, my friend.
All the best, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care.